The nation's top infectious disease expert issued a sobering warning to states reopening prematurely. Dr. Anthony Fauci testified before the Senate Health and Human Services Committee and said reopening too early could have deadly consequences. We're following several news stories on the COVID-19 pandemic. We begin with Tarek, who watched the entire committee hearing and joins us now with the important points from the testimony. Tarek.
Well, you know, senators asked Dr. Fauci what would happen if a community doesn't follow CDC guidelines from the health experts on the phases of reopening. Fauci said even under the best circumstances, when you pull back on mitigation, coronavirus cases will appear. Testifying before the U.S. Senate Health Committee from home, Dr. Anthony Fauci warns that the United States doesn't have total control of the coronavirus pandemic yet. Fauci said even though the coronavirus curve is indeed flattening now, that could change if states reopen too early.
My concern is that if states or cities or regions, in their attempt, understandable, to get back to some form of normality, disregard to a greater or lesser degree the checkpoints that we put in our guidelines about when it is safe to proceed in pulling back on mitigation. Because I feel if that occurs, there is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control, which in fact, paradoxically, will set you back, not only leading to some suffering and death that could be avoided, but could even set you back on the road to trying to get economic recovery, because it would almost turn the clock back rather than going forward. That is my major concern.
Fauci said the U.S. is heading in the right direction, but also added that the U.S. death toll is almost certainly higher than what's been reported at roughly 80,000 people. Fauci didn't say how many more people he thinks have died from the coronavirus, but he drilled down that the risk of resurgence is real.
If some areas, cities, states, or what have you, jump over those various checkpoints and prematurely open up without having the capability of being able to respond effectively and efficiently, my concern is that we will start to see little spikes that might turn into outbreaks.
Fauci said the most important things moving forward in reopening is each state's ability and capability to respond to COVID-19 cases, to identify and isolate to stop the spread, and conduct contact tracing to determine where the disease was contracted. He also stressed that each and every state should protect the most vulnerable.
That the vulnerables, the elderly and those with underlying conditions, should be those who at the very last lifting of mitigations should be those who are left in a situation where they might be in danger of getting infected. In other words, protect them right up until the very end of the relaxation.
Fauci also offered the states the same advice for protecting minorities, specifically African Americans and Hispanics who are getting infected at higher rates and at a higher risk of mortality.